Hello, it's Veronica with the Crafty Oasis, and today I wanted to talk to you about a Schedule C. So specifically in the US, it's almost tax time, and if you are a sole proprietor, you may use a Schedule C. Now, this is not tax advice. This is really just helping you track your expenses throughout the year so that come tax time, it's a lot easier for you, your team, your tax professional to go through those expenses and categorize them and use them in your overall tax return. So the way that I use these is I specifically look at part 2, the expenses, and I create a spreadsheet based off of that, and I look at the ones that apply to me. If you don't have a sole proprietorship, if you're a different type of organization or entity, I'm sure this can apply to you as far as the concept as well. So you can take what you're learning today and what I'm going to show you and apply that to your business. It just may not look exactly the same. So I basically create a category for each one, and then I'm able to, throughout the year, input that information. So I'll walk you through how to create a Google form where you can choose from a drop down of the categories that apply to you, and then that form automatically generates a spreadsheet so that at the end of the year you have basically a report to present to your team and to your tax professional. So we'll go on over to Google Drive and get started. Okay, now that we're in Google Drive, we go to New, and then we open up Google Forms, and I always start with a blank form. So the first thing I do with my Google Forms is I put the title. In this case, it's expense tracking. And I do that for a couple reasons so that when I close out, it'll automatically retitle this as expense tracking. Also, just to keep myself on track, because as I'm typing it, before I get to the questions, I may not have, my brain may be frazzled that day. So I just like to put a little message to myself. This is just for me to see and any future team that I may have. So I just write a message, keep track of all your spending so it's organized for tax time. You don't have to put that. It's up to you. So for the question, I put in expense type. And then what I'm going to do is it pre-populates a drop-down choice based on what you put into the title of that section, of that question, and it's correct. So now I'm just putting in the different categories. And I pulled these categories straight from a Schedule C since I am a sole proprietor. So if you are also a sole proprietor, this video is geared for you if you use a Schedule C. So you can print out the Schedule C. I'll have it linked in the description. This is straight from the IRS website, and that way you can look at it and figure out what categories are applicable to your business. So for me, it's commissions and fees, supplies, taxes and licenses, and I just fill out one line per category of expense type. Travel and meals, and you'll want to do the same thing. So they don't all apply to me. They may or may not all apply to you. Every business is unique in their needs and what really, the way they operate, and also therefore what they need to keep track of or what expenses they actually have. So utilities, and it's pretty simple. It's pretty, I don't want to say self-explanatory at this point, because if you've never created a form in Google Forms, then you're learning how to do it. But once you do one or a few, then you really get the hang of it. So on the right, you'll see different options. You can add an image there in the actual question. You can choose a different type of question where the plus sign is, and I always mark it required, and then I'm adding a question. This one is actually a file upload, so this requires the respondent to log in, and it does have that message there, and I'm okay with that in this instance. because it's just me that's going to be using this for my business, I'm 100% okay with logging in to create the form, or I'm sorry, to answer the form. But honestly, for myself, in general, when I create any other forms, I do not require a login because it personally kind of annoys me if I have to log into a form that I'm filling out as far as my email, if it's just more of a beginning form or a general questionnaire. So I don't like to have to do that. So did you notice how when I put in expense tracking at the top and I went to responses, it went to the left and filled it in for me. So it will auto-populate the title based on whatever you put on the first line of your form. And this new purple form responses, it's new. So in this video, I'm just really trying to learn how to get rid of it because I don't like it. I did find out that where it says form responses 1, you click on that drop down, it'll actually say remove formatting, and it goes back to the way it looked before, the way that I'm used to. So you can change colors, which I don't show in this video on the spreadsheet, but the point of that part is that we connected the responses to a new spreadsheet. The spreadsheet was created. The title of that matches the form. So the spreadsheet and the form title are both expense tracking. So now I'm changing my settings. I always show progress bar. That's helpful for me. I always put in a little message, even though it's just for myself to see. It, I think, gives us that little bit of progress. It activates the limbic system. So it's like a little woohoo. So you can write whatever message you like of confirmation. You can just leave it at the default one. And then whatever you type in there, just click save, and it'll save your message. And I always leave the show link to submit another response toggled on. That's up to you. You can change the form defaults and the question defaults. I do not collect email, even though the file upload will require me to log in. I never toggle on the requirement to collect emails. So now I'm just changing it to match more of the theme of my business, and that's really up to you. So I'm going through and I'm changing the font for the questions and the header and the text. So if you'd like, you could actually have a different font for the header, a different font for the question, and a different font for the answer or the text. So that's up to you. I didn't feel the need to do that, especially since it's just for me. I did make it match my business font, but I didn't go that far. So I'm looking at all the pictures that they have available within Google Forms, because you can change the header. And if you do that, it changes the color scheme of the form itself too. But you can always change it back to whatever you prefer. It just pulls colors from that illustration or that picture, and then will kind of default to that. So I don't see any that I like. So I just close out of there, but you can change it. If you want to, you'd go to that little palette, and that's how I got here. And then I know my hex codes, and I will be adding a video soon, or maybe it has already been added, depending on where you are in time. But I will be adding a video on hex codes, so just stay tuned for that, or you can look in my playlists. And that's the hex code for my business, so it'll create like background colors similar to that. And now once you've set up the form how you like it, make sure to hit publish. This changed recently a little bit. You didn't have to hit publish before. It would automatically publish it. But make sure that anyone with a link is selected, because otherwise if it's restricted and you do have a team or you are sharing this form, then they won't be able to fill it out or open it unless they're on an invitee list or included. So I just changed these settings. You can change them however you'd like. And then I always kind of expand on it just to double check to make sure that I have it set up the way that I want, and then done. and dismiss, and then publish. I should have just published it there. So we'll publish that, and now it's ready. We're going to grab the link. And I always test my links, or I won't say always, but I try to test my links as much as possible. Because once I can test my link either via email or text, I send myself a text of it, I then actually go in on my phone most of the time and check it that way. It helps really bring any typos to the forefront. If the flow is kind of off, it helps me just get the user feel. And so I recommend you doing the same thing. So I'm just sending it to myself in the email. And I actually have an email folder from me on my Crafty Oasis email and also my virtual assisting email as well, because I routinely send stuff to myself for checking. So we'll go ahead and send that off. And then in just a moment we'll be over in on the phone to see how it looks there. And then you can share it again, copy responder link. I always shorten the link. For some reason it saved it as a draft because I didn't have it copied. So we'll paste that and then send. And once it's sent, I will retrieve that and check it out.